Today we're going to read Carving Stories in Cedar, How to Make a Totem Pole. So a totem pole is a type of wood carving, and they're really special because they tell a story, right? As we read, we're going to be focusing on our key vocabulary words. We're going to focus on how to sequence a process, so tell about what to do first, next, then, and last. Okay, that's our language skill, is sequencing. What is a totem pole? Everyone likes to hear family stories and legends. Many tales are passed down from generation to generation. Hundreds of years ago, Native people lived along the northwest coast of the United States and Canada. They did not have a written language. These first people created a special way to tell their tales and family histories. So these people who lived here, okay, they didn't read and write. So when they wanted to tell a story, they couldn't write a book, they couldn't write a text message, okay? They told stories by creating totem poles to communicate. Master carvers chose cedar trees from the forest. These trees were tall and straight, and some had red-colored bark. The carvers carved pictures into the soft wood to record family stories. They also carved poles to honor their chiefs and other important people who had died. These carvings are called totem poles. Sometimes they're called silent books. Now we're going to think about how they were different. Each family or clan used an animal to represent them. That animal stood for something special about their culture and identity. So carvers used those animals and other family symbols to create the totem poles. I want you to take a minute, and just think about an animal that might be special for you, for your family. Maybe you and your family are brave, so a lion might represent you. Maybe the ocean is really important to you, so you might choose a fish or a dolphin. Okay? All these people, each family had their own special animal and their own special story to tell about what is important to them, and the totem poles helped them do that. The families placed the tall sculptures in front of their homes to show who lived there. They also used the poles like signs to welcome visitors to their villages. The poles helped us tell our stories, says Israel Shotridge, a Tlingit carver from Ketchikan, Alaska. They helped us preserve our culture and identity. Right now, we're going to focus a little bit on how you carve a totem pole. This man's last name is Shotridge. He's been carving for 20 years. He uses methods that were used in the past. Tradition is an important part of what I do, he says. Here is how Shotridge makes a totem pole. First, he chooses a design. Before he begins carving, he talks with the person who wants him to carve the pole. They discuss the design. Some of the poles are reproductions of old poles. Others are new designs used for businesses, government buildings, and schools. So the first thing he does is he thinks about the design. He makes a plan, right? Okay. Number 2, he prepares the tree. I want you to notice this word here, next. That's an important key word when you are sequencing. Next, Shortridge finds and cuts down a tall, straight cedar tree. He sings special songs his mother, a tribal elder, taught him as he works. Then he removes the bark. So the bark is the outside part of the tree. He draws the design on the wood with a special pencil. Sometimes he adds extra pieces of wood to show a bird's wings or a fish's fins. So the next step is finding a tree, cutting it down, preparing the tree. Pay close attention here to the word then. Then is an important sequencing word. First, next, then he carves the pole. Then Shortridge uses tools such as an adze and chisel to carve the design into the wood. An assistant might work with him on the larger poles, but even with help, some poles take almost a year to complete. So it takes him a whole year to carefully create his design. Then he paints the pole. Shortridge paints his poles in the traditional colors of red, teal, blue, and black. Early carvers made their paints from local minerals like copper and iron mixed with salmon eggs. But Shortridge, like most modern carvers, buys his paint. So after he spends about a year creating the design out of wood and carving, then he paints it. Oops. Oh, my underline is still there. There we go. Okay. When the pole is almost finished, plans are made to raise it. Cranes lift big poles into place. They often weigh more than 1,000 pounds. Smaller poles are raised by hand. We usually raise poles the old-fashioned way, says Shortridge. We use lots of manpower and ropes. Everyone celebrates. When the pole is raised, the person who asked for it often has a big celebration. It's called a potlatch. Everyone feasts, so everyone eats and celebrates. Sometimes people give gifts to each other. The bigger the pole, the bigger the party. If the pole is commissioned by a clan member, guests sing songs from their family's clan. Once the pole has been raised, another silent book stands to tell the story of the people of the Northwest. So last, at the very end, everyone celebrates. That's the last step in creating and carving a totem pole, is they raise the pole up for everyone to see, and then they have like a big party, right? I want you to think about the sequence, the steps that these people take to create the pole. Go back and think about what they did. First, you pick a design. Next, you have to find the right tree. Then you carve it. After that, you have to paint it. Then it gets raised up. And last, you have a big celebration. So I hope you are focusing on those sequence words: first, next, then, after, and last. Those are really important in English when you're telling the order something happens in.